Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. We are very, very excited to get into some logo design today. Sydney is my partner in crime. Well, Sydney's partner in crime. Sydney's super talented, and I'll let her explain who she is really quickly.
Yeah. So my name is Sydney Michuda. I'm a graphic designer, letterer, and illustrator based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I run my own one-lady design studio named Super Creative. And yesterday we worked on some logo design for a new company that I'm working with called Pottery with a Purpose. And today we're going to pick back up and keep designing those brands. So.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see where you take this today. I see Colby in chat. Carol asked for more Adobe Dimension work, which I don't know if you have that available and you want to go through that today, but it'd be cool. Voodoo Val is here. Sarah, hello, everybody. Welcome. So excited to see you guys again. So yeah, walk us through really quickly where we got to yesterday, some of the iterations, and then kind of explain where we're gonna hope to get to by the end of today's stream.
Yeah. So yesterday I basically started off with all these notes. I like to keep things very nice and organized and make sure that I have, like I said yesterday, have all my puzzle pieces laid out for me so I can just assemble the puzzle with all the pieces later on. I went through a bunch of different type options, kind of just playing with anything that I think might be useful. Then from there, I did several different just type lockups. We have the taglines over here on the right. And then I started working with some color palettes this morning. So there's a few new things here. I picked a few color palettes, picked a few logos with marks. Nothing is refined yet, so I want to add some color to these, add some texture, and then create some like larger full bleed patterns, do some mock-ups on t-shirts and bags, things like that. Maybe create some business card layouts and secondary logos, just really trying to round at least one or two, maybe three of these directions out together for a presentation.
Perfect. Well, before we get into that, I want to remind everybody in chat, if you are designing along or just wanting to do the daily creative challenge, the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge is doing a mini design and it's really, really exciting. Everybody's doing some diner themes right now. So if you want to go up there to bit.ly/AI Discord, go check it out. We will be reviewing everybody's design work inside the challenge thread. So make sure you're participating. And from there, we will jump back into designing now.
Yeah. So I decided to add this little still life icon to the funky font Gopher.
That's sweet.
But I want to add some color to it. And then I also made some of these earlier, which are kind of fun.
Oh, those are really fun.
Yeah, just as like potential secondary options for the brand.
And you did all these sketches, just to remind chat, or because I know there's probably a lot of new people, you did a bunch of sketching out on your iPad before and brought that into Illustrator and then traced some of it. And then it looks like maybe even did image trace of some of them as well.
Yep, on the like more abstract shapes, I did live trace just because they're supposed to be funky and organic. And when I use the pen tool, it tends to be a little bit too precise.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, live trace gives me a nice, like rough shapes.
And Sarah asked, how did you go about picking color palettes?
Ooh, good question. Let's see, I kind of take what I've seen in the mood boards and then I kind of gauge what the client likes. So it's just as a start. I know that she mentioned that she does like some of these more earthy clay colors. So I wanted to make sure that there's at least something representative of terracotta in each palette, or close to it at least. And then from there, I just kind of go with colors that I am really liking at the moment. I try to make sure too that there's a full good amount of contrast within the palette. So it's not just all like the same flat tone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like sometimes like this pink and this yellow are pretty similar. So I wouldn't want to have a full palette of colors that are in that same like saturation level.
Yeah.
Because that would be a huge bummer. But yeah, I like to just browse around through my mood boards, figure out what the client likes, and kind of go from there.
Totally. And I think that's an awesome way to like start doing your color palettes, especially if you know that the brand strategy is we're going to be doing very earthy handmade things. You want a color palette that will reflect that. Sometimes it works to also contrast that in the space and say, what is all of our competition doing and how do we change that? So you can, that kind of gives you a rough ballpark to play in as a creative. And look at that. That's looking really nice already.
Ooh.
And yesterday you said that this would be your tattoo if they don't go with this direction. Is that correct?
Sorry, what's that?
You said that you'll get this as a tattoo if the client doesn't actually choose it?
Yep.
Perfect.
I already have one still life tattoo, so why not get another?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I kind of like this just as the outline as
I think
well
that
as
outline's really nice.
Yeah. Ooh, I'll just keep that as a secondary option.
Absolutely. Those pixels are free.
Right, exactly. And that's why it's so nice that Illustrator has all the space to work with, because I just end up filling up the entire area.
Yeah. Again, everybody was commenting yesterday about how organized you are, and it truly is baffling because I'll just press like Command Shift H and just have all white space, and then I'll just throw my logos everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just a mess.
See, I have to like keep things organized, otherwise I'll forget everything. Yeah. So it's more of like, I don't know, it's a good habit to be into, but it is also kind of an act of desperation because otherwise I won't get anything done.
Totally. And the way that you've set up your artboards is intentional and iterative, right? It shows that you've had a lot of experience doing work like this. You know, okay, I'm going to take these 4 mood boards or 4 directions. I'm going to apply a color palette to it. I'm going to look at secondary elements. I'm going to see how the space works with these type and everything. It's really clean and methodical and intentional. It's great.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, how can you not love these secondary elements?
Right.
They're just so playful.
That's like, I always want anything that I make to just, as cheesy as it sounds, to just make people happy or bring a little bit of joy to someone's world. Because like you can have a sophisticated brand, but still have it be fun. Not everything has to be super serious and black and white or like, yeah, I don't know. There's so much variety with graphic design. You can really do anything that you want.
It's funny because Audra goes, can you tell us how you stay organized? What's your secret? And I think it goes back to our theme of yesterday's stream, which I'm sure will be today's theme as well. It depends.
It depends. Yeah.
Depends on where you are in the process and
right.
the project. Like,
yeah.
I think you've done the exploration phase. So now you're like being very intentional about here's the next 3 things I need to do. And it's mock up the collateral, put secondary elements, and figure out color palettes, right? So it's like you've created purposeful mood boards or art boards for each of those to be self-contained.
Yeah, I think just so much of it is just practice and getting used to how you work, what your process is like. I am a very methodical, organized person by nature, partly because I just, that's how I am. And then it's, as weird as it sounds, it's kind of almost like out of necessity that I don't want to lose anything. Like I said before, I'm afraid that like I'll forget something. So I make sure that I keep everything as organized as possible so it doesn't completely get lost, because we've all been there where our Illustrator crashes or like we completely lose an account or something like that. So
yep.
Trying to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. Yeah, just and then back to, I just don't want to forget anything. So I just write everything down. And like, I have a million to-do lists written all over the place.
Yeah.
I have one in my email drafts that's just like design tasks, my shop tasks, my home tasks, my grocery list, my ideas for the future, just
so good.
A million things.
So that's a really good behind the scenes into how you think through things. And that's awesome.
Very linear, very list-like.
Exactly. So if you're very list oriented, follow what she did because it's
Yeah.
great. It's perfect.
Yeah.
These colors really work really nicely together.
Thank you. I always try, again, really hard to just pick really cool colors, but things that are also a little bit unexpected. Because I don't know if I've really ever seen lavender mixed with this rust color.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like a nice little palette cleanser.
Right.
You're just kind of like, oh, that's refreshing. Like I can
Right.
see that, you know.
And I also apologize for my super Midwestern accent. I know it's really apparent when I say lavender. I've heard
Just
that
any
before.
A words.
Yeah, lavender. It's so hard to turn off.
It's awesome.
So now I'm trying to make a badge here because for me, no brand is complete until they have a badge option.
Yeah, I mean, badges are so just, I think everybody kind of expects to have a badge or a secondary logo these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
The whole idea of like responsive brand systems and things like that is really taken off with the, you know, the digital era where, you know, you got to work for, has to work with an Instagram icon or a favicon for your website.
Mm-hmm.
And then what does it look like for merch? And,
Right.
you know, what does the lifestyle look like?
Mm-hmm.
So,
you can't just have that main primary logo and just leave it at that. You have to have a whole system working together.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Because I love the Wisco accent. I can't even speak today. This is a great start.
Yeah.
Jennifer says, yes, Shibuya, Wisconsin.
Heck yeah, Wisconsin. Speaking of the Wisconsin people, one thing that we always say is OPE. I don't know. It's just OPE. And it's the weirdest like regional dialect. And people just realized that it was a thing maybe like 2 years ago. And now it's all over the place. People think it's hilarious. And I already did one of those earlier.
That's so funny. Ooh, so now you're making like a little abstract. Okay, I like
I'm
that.
going to put these inside this badge.
Ooh.
Yeah. That one might be kind of hard since it's got that right angle.
Oh, there it is. Great. Thank you, Kate. Eden asks, what does it mean?
I think it's like a shortened version of saying oops. So instead of like, oops, sorry, we'll go, ope, sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, because Midwesterners are notoriously polite. So we always got to say oops and apologize for anything.
Absolutely.
Ooh, then I definitely want to add some texture to these shapes later on too, because that's something that I mentioned yesterday, that's one thing that we can do to separate ourselves from one of the competitors brands who uses similar abstract shapes. But I just want to get these other pieces in here first.
Allison says some of my best-selling merch has OPE on it.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I've always wanted to make some sort of merch piece that says OPE, but now I feel like I kind of missed out on it. And they're like, all the good stuff that says OPE is already there. So I'll wait for the next thing that we realize is weird about our state.
No, I think you could totally do that.
Yeah.
You can absolutely make your own cool version of it. Because like, I mean, I'm originally from Texas, so like y'all is like the merch thing that everybody's doing now. But like that's been around for so long.
That's true.
So, and y'all is absolutely the best thing ever. I find myself writing emails with like 6 y'alls in one paragraph, and it's like,
I think it's funny too now that people that aren't even from the South say y'all instead of saying like an updated version of saying you guys, because that can be a little exclusionary every once in a while. So y'all has become the new like just English, hey everybody phrase.
Yeah, exactly. You all. It's just way faster.
Right.
Roman asks or says, I love the color combination. Did you use Adobe Color?
No, I didn't.
Have you used Adobe Color?
I have not used Adobe Color.
It's so good.
I'm usually not one to like go with, and I don't mean this to sound negative in any way, but like generated color palettes.
What?
I don't know. I just like to be able to pick it for myself. Color is a big thing for me. And I love the process of finding those palettes on my own.
That's fair. I think there's some really cool things you can do with Adobe Color, like upload your images or a photo that you took or whatever, and be like, okay, that was a really cool sunset I took a photo of, and then it pulls that, it's still creative, but it's different than if you were to just like take the photo and then throw it into Photoshop and then just grab an eyedropper tool, which is kind of nice.
Totally.
Carol goes, use guys. Use guys is
That's kind of fun. Now, Alex, do you have a preference between this monogram and this monogram?
I think, like you said, there's a lot of like secondary elements. So I think I could see both of them being used depending on what it's in, right? Okay. Like I could see in a square lockup of some sort. So say like the client really push for like a watermark on an Instagram post or something. I could see that being locked up in the bottom right corner or bottom left corner.
Yeah. Which is sit nicely in there.
Yeah, and that way it's like not obtrusive, but they still get the watermark,
That's a good
and then
point.
the PP I can see, on merch or a sleeve hit or something like that, like on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
That's a good call.
More is more in this situation, I feel like.
Yeah, basically. Because then, especially if you're the designer that's going to be working with this stuff later on, the more assets you create on the upfront, the easier all that creation process is going to be later on.
Yeah.
So you're not just sitting with a new brand saying like, well, I don't know, how do I make this cool or fun, or how do I make the layout interesting?
Yeah. And I think the great thing about it is that both of those versions you have are so different from each other that it allows them to live on the same universe without competing against each other. I think if you did, a vertical stack version of your horizontal PP, like that would be like maybe too conflicting, or maybe that's just an iteration.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to try to add some of that texture.
And you did those textures through on your iPad as well, correct?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, just kind of using a few different brushes to apply those.
And Audra says, you probably talked about this yesterday, but what do you think about when choosing brand elements or color brand elements?
Brand elements or color brand
colors
elements?
For brand elements.
Oh, okay. I just kind of gauge the general vibe that the brand is going for, I guess. So this one, she wanted it to be light and playful, but not like too on the end of too young, I guess. Yeah. So she wanted it to be cool, fun, and playful. So I wanted to make sure that there were some pastels in there, because pastels always add that lighter quality since they're lighter colors.
Absolutely.
And this lavender, tried not to go for my accent. Lavender. This lavender color is pretty upbeat and lighthearted and fun. So that I think fits perfectly. And it's a pretty rockin' color right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's mostly just about gauging what the client has already kind of said within their creative brief, what they're interested in, and then kind of just going from there and using my best judgment.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
Sweet.
And the great thing is, like, because you have such great like diversity in your colors that you're choosing from, if the client did need to like tweak something, you can go with your recolor in Illustrator, the Adobe recolor tool.
That's right.
And quickly swap things around and explore different color palettes. So if you guys are in chat and you're constantly trying to figure out new color palettes or new ways to look at your work, you can recolor your art really easily with it. Corey, cool. Corey, that's a great question. I think chat, I want to hear what you have to say. But I also want to know what you have to say, Sydney. What's your favorite thing to watch or listen to while you're working?
Oh my God. I listen to way too much true crime.
Ooh.
way too much true crime, and it's a good thing that I don't live alone because otherwise I'd be very afraid. But yeah, a lot of My Favorite Murder, Last Podcast on the Left. Yeah, just as many of those as I can. Whenever there's like new serial ones where there's like an entire new crime that they're developing or they're unfolding, I like to dive really deep into those. Yeah, sometimes it's American Life. I will sometimes put like rewatching things on TV. Like I am a really bad rewatcher, so I'll rewatch like Game of Thrones just over and over and over again.
Do you stop before the last season?
No, I still do it because it's it's still part of the series. It's still part of the show.
No.
George R.R. Martin had told them that's how he wanted it to end. So I respect that.
No. All right. I'll forgive you. Oh man. We were getting along so well. The last season was so bad.
I know, but it's still part of it. You can't leave it unresolved. What do you like to watch or listen to?
It depends on what I'm doing. I think if I'm like doing a lot of emails or a lot of strategy stuff, I'll do like something more chill and ambient. Like I think some people in chat have said lo-fi.
Yeah.
Lo-fi is a good classic, but if I'm like really in the design mode, I'll do something more like upbeat to keep my mind going faster. So typically like hip hop or dance or something. And then also a lot of podcasts as well, just day in and day out. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I should say if I like need to really put my head down and concentrate because it's a concentration task, then I'll definitely just go for music or something like that instead. Totally. But if it's a bit more of a technical task, then I'll pop on a podcast or something.
Yeah, and Voodoo Val is like, Alex reacting right now is like when people tell me they like the new Star Wars. Also, Solo was the best Star Wars film ever.
No, out of here.
Me. Do not at me.
No, Rogue One is the best Star Wars film.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
Podcast says Rogue One. Nope.
Yes.
Solo. Okay, Rogue One is second. Okay, second. Fine. All right, I'll concede. Rogue One's good.
Rogue One is amazing.
Voodoo Val says Rogue One counts as good Star Wars. I don't think you can't just say new and then Val. No, you can't be anti-new Star Wars and then be like, well, that new one was good, so it's fine. Like, what?
I think she probably means the new series.
Oh.
Yeah, because like the new series is hotly debated if it's worth it or not.
That's true. That's fair. I don't want to throw fights yet. Mandalorian is great. Okay, we can go there. It's good, I guess. It's beautiful.
It's a space western.
Exactly. It's space western. It's cute. Baby Yoda's got plenty of screen time. It's great.
I think my mouse died.
Oh no.
That's all right.
You have to trackpad it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we got trackpads for.
Yeah, can we talk about how poorly designed the Magic Mouse is with its dead cockroach style, like charging this way?
Right.
Oh man.
There we go. It's nice that this one has batteries at least though, so I don't have to plug it in.
Totally.
There we go.
I love how technical Voodoo Val is about her Star Wars. She's like, not a prequel, it's original or sequel. All caps, by the way. So good. If you ever want a spicy chat with Voodoo Val, you always just need to bring up Star Wars. I was going to say that Voodoo Val probably just watches like Adam Driver like compilations while she's working for inspiration.
Heck yes. There's nothing wrong with that.
True.
Adam Driver is wonderful and great.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Paca said, so true. Literally need to stop working to charge. Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do with my mouse now?
Right.
Val says, I do have to take a break and pretend that everything Alex said in the last 5 minutes never happened so we can stay friends. That's fine. Val's amazing. I would never want to lose her friendship. Oh, Anna keeps asking. Sorry, Anna, I missed your question. tips on organizing your workspace, your physical workspace.
Oh boy.
Because I feel like if you're this organized in your artboards, your life is probably pretty organized as well.
Oh boy, I wish that was true. It's not at all. I do like to try a little bit every morning when I wake up, like before I take a shower, before I get ready, just like walk around the house and just pick up that wine glass that I left on the coffee table last night, or like just like random clutter. I like to just take 15 minutes every morning and just put that stuff away. So the rest of my day doesn't feel as like weighed down and cluttered. But so I guess I would apply then to also like your workspace, or if you're working in an office, at an office, or in your living room, or in your dining room like I am right now. I'd say just carving out that time every day to just tidy up a little bit is so valuable.
The fact that you have time allocated to tidy up is pretty telling already.
It's more of like a habit that I just realized that I was doing when someone else pointed it out. I was like, oh, you're right.
Yeah, I love that you're just like, I don't really do that. And then all of a sudden, no, I've got like, 45 minutes allocated every day.
Oh my God. Yeah, sometimes it just takes that other person to call out that you're doing things a certain way.
And that's great. And I love it. I mean, like, if you look at like chefs, right? Like, I think there's a lot of similarities with being a chef and, a designer or a creative, because let's be real, they are very creative. But like the whole mantra of just like mise en place, where it's like you have everything tidy and organized, and you do all the meal prep and the chopping of the vegetables and the prepping of the meat and everything before you start to create, is something that I think creatives could stand to benefit from. Right? So like what you've done with your artboards is you've got all your ingredients and all those like strategy things on the side. And then you start to prep little nuggets of like some textures you've built and some typefaces that you have. And then whenever you start sitting down to actually create it, you're just assembling ingredients and kind of creating your own little masterpieces.
Right.
So I think having a clean desk space, that goes all back to the physical thing.
Yeah.
If you have a clean desk, you have nothing to distract you from. You can just sit down and focus.
Right. I honestly feel like it saves you time too. And I think that's honestly a little bit of why I am so organized, is because I feel like if I get everything all out in the open at the onset, then I can just assemble things more quickly rather than just like toiling away with certain letters or something like that.
Absolutely.
Early on. It's like when you're drawing something, like if you want to draw a human figure, you're not going to start super close in with the eyes. You're going to draw the entire form first, like the skeleton sketch or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're going to start like Napoleon Dynamite. Like, I spent 3 hours shading her upper lip, like,
oh my God. Yeah.
You don't start with that.
Wow. You know that exact quote.
Yeah. Oh, it's because I that's how I used to do my upper lip sketches. So.
Oh, nice.
Dan says, tidying up my design somehow clears my mind for more creativity. Absolutely. Yeah. I think like sometimes it's so therapeutic to even like editing photos and things, like getting into the task that's not so necessarily brain heavy, but just getting in there and like brushstroking or editing something where it can be a little bit more of just flow, and you can like free your mind up for other things.
Yeah.
Super, super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you speak to how, Jamie is bringing the heat with the questions. Can you speak to how you decide how many options you give a client along with how many extra elements? Are these predetermined amounts, or do you wait to see what you come up with?
That's an extremely good question. And I basically figured it out after a lot of trial and error. Basically what I do, when I sign clients on, I have 3 different brand packages. So someone either could take the small one, the medium, or the large. The large always has like 3 fully complete brand directions. If someone signs on for medium, it's generally 2. If someone signs on for small, it's just 1 on like a predetermined direction that we know, like, okay, you want a logo that's going to have mountains in it and it's going to have some script font. Like, that's what you want. So we're going to do that. And that's what you're going to get. Yeah. So it's pretty stripped down. But it's still totally valuable for some of those smaller makers that don't have as wide of a budget. But so that's sort of how I determine things. I think some people have a debate as to whether you should even provide multiple directions, because I don't know, it's just one of those contested things in the design world. But
I have feels about
yeah.
that.
But yeah, and then with the amount of brand assets, it's again kind of depending on what their pay scale is. Like if they sign on for a large package, they're going to get the full works. And then I just kind of as a default have figured out that I work best when I provide a primary logo, secondary logos, monograms, and a badge. Then like those extra little bits, which I just say other brand assets, because that's kind of hard to determine. Because not everyone's going to get a pattern, but they might get like, I don't know, a full illustration set or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way that you packaged it up and like easy to digest, understanding, like as a client, I can come to you really quickly and be like, how many do I get for this budget? You know, or you're like, oh, actually, you don't have the budget for the larger packages. Here's just one thing. If you have like a very specific thing in mind, is a great offering. And I think it's a really great way of positioning it to clients.
Well, especially as like you're just starting out, because every client that you work with is going to want something different and a little bit custom in a certain way. So for me, that was just nice to sign on some people on the onset that couldn't pay for like the whole shebang, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Den goes, just to clarify, so you create 3 fully fleshed out directions for the large package.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes I definitely have a favorite. Like I think this one's starting to be my favorite for this one. So I might put like several extra hours into this one compared to this one down here. But still, I just want to make sure that they have a full like set to choose from, so that they know that they're not leaving anything on the table.
Absolutely. I love that. Eric says, I think it's a good approach. It really depends on the client, and the one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
I think theme of today's stream will probably also be, it depends. Like I'm calling it now. But I agree. I think it all really depends on your client and how you personally work. I prefer to only give the client one really solid direction. But just because I never seem to get a good multiple logo client where it's like, you know, I typically will present and then I go, great, I love option A and B and C, and then combine all 3 of them. And then that's what you like, we should get now. And it's like, no, that's not really that good.
Right.
But I built into my process, like I have to do a ton of strategy work up front, and it's non-negotiable. And I'm going to give you a direction that solves the business problems that you have. And the client's like, I just make sure to over communicate that and bring them along in the journey and say, you know, we can do a lot of things for you, but we want to make sure that everything is defined up front.
Right.
So it really depends however you want to approach it.
Really depends.
Just make sure your client is like understanding of your process, because that's where you're going to run into problems. If your client thinks that you get 3 complete iterated versions and you're only going to give them one, they're not going to be happy, and then you're not going to be happy whenever you have to do the other 2.
Right.
So you don't want to you don't want those friction points. So just over communicate, chat. Over communicate.
Oh yeah. I'm not loving those polka dots.
Vudaval goes, didn't you say, Alex, that you do so much research that you only ever present one design to your clients in the end? How does that work? Yes, that's exactly it. I do about like 80 to 120 hours worth of research typically.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's robust. But that's kind of like how I've kind of positioned my business and my clientele to be like, this is necessary for you guys to be successful. And we'll do a deep audit into who they are, what their competition is doing, how to differentiate in the marketplace. In that process, I will present like very defined mood boards. And then that mood board and directions. I'll pitch them a couple different things and say, this is kind of what I'm thinking for this, but then with this flavor and twist. And then they're like, okay, I can see it happening before I start to design. And that way it's not like I'm not spending time designing random things for them that aren't going to be used at the end. Because I think just my experience is like, I don't do really well once I have a really solid set of design ideas for like a direction for a brand. Like me spinning it up after a strategy and everything is already defined to pivot a different direction is really tough for me. Just I struggle with that.
Yeah. And I think honestly for me, I work a little bit better when there is this kind of more free flow process here. And I just like creating those extra directions.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a different shape. And I've definitely worked with other agencies that have that really intense strategy up front where they just mood board the heck out of it. So there's a really established direction. They have all that research up front, competitor analysis, stuff like that. And that's just so amazing that places can do that. I just don't do that because
totally.
Yeah.
Like I think that comes from like just my background of like being a self-taught designer. I didn't go to design school. I think I was always afraid that whatever designs I made weren't going to be strong enough. So then I inherently was always looking for strategy to kind of build the case for why the design works.
Okay.
And so I think that phobia kind of pushed me to learning strategy and the business and all that other stuff to like help support the creative decisions. So I think that came from a place of fear, but now is like kind of what differentiates me in the market.
Now it's your strength.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
It's like Bane.
Right.
Like being born in the darkness.
Oh my God. That's crazy though too, because I feel like I'm almost the opposite way where I always felt like my concepts were lacking and I was always just so afraid that my ideas were going to be bad. So I decided to prop up the design assets and the cool factor as much as humanly possible so that no one would really want to poke holes in the ideas. But then later on I was like, oh, that's right. Concepts are super important. And now I know how to do this.
Yeah, totally. It's, it's like just how do you learn this process over time? And there's no one size fits all at all.
Exactly.
But like if I know that the client is really expecting two different designs, what I'll do is I'll make sure that I have a brief that is solid enough for another creative on my team to take it and run with it. And then we'll kind of be siloed in our creative process.
Okay.
And I'll just take a direction and the other person will take a direction. And then we kind of like hash it out afterwards. That way they're still getting different directions. It was something that I saw like a lot of the agencies that I was freelancing for a while would do that, where like I would get a task or a project, somebody else would get one, and then whoever had the strongest pitch would go to the client, or they would present just two different directions. So it kind of allows for like, different ways to solve the same kind of creative brief.
Yeah, one thing that I really, really miss is being able to work with other designers. Like at the last place that I worked at, I sat next to a couple really great designers. And it was just so nice to be like, hey, Sam, could you come over and look at this real quick? Because I really trust you and I think that you're a great person and I want to hear what you have to say. Whereas when you're at home, you can't really ask your cats what they think.
Like, meow once if you're hungry.
Yeah.
Meow twice if you like the design.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes I'll ask my husband too, and he's like, I don't know. The pink is good, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, getting those like online communities, even like finding a Slack channel, like even the Creative Challenger channels, like you can post in there and be like, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, how did you do this? Like, what are you thinking about this? What are the first reactions you get? Like finding those online communities right now when we are so kind of isolated and separated.
Yeah, for sure.
But Val says, so you essentially cut out the middleman and the element of, I hope my clients like this. You found a workflow that ensures satisfaction. That is correct. Yeah, the whole goal is I don't want to spend tons and tons of time doing a bunch of concepts that I don't think are going to win.
Yeah. And I think that there's definitely a lot of confidence in that approach too. Like I think one of the reasons why I do provide multiple options is because I'm just always afraid that they're not going to like the one that I've decided on.
Totally.
But kind of like you said, if you have that strategy and concepting up front to back it up, it's probably not as likely to happen. But
oh, it still happens though. Like people are people, and I think sometimes they're still like, oh man, how did you do this? Or why did you do this? Like I've had those moments where like I've flown across the country to present thing to a client and sprinted really hard on this work and think that I nailed it, and then they're like, yeah, I don't like that.
Try again, bud.
But the whole thing I try to do is like I try to demystify the process where like I'm not just like some behind the curtains like Wizard of the Oz thing, like ooh, like it's spooky. Right. I want like the client to know exactly kind of where these things come from. So I'll open up the Illustrator artboards with them and let them take a look and see why things didn't work and explain the process to them, which is very vulnerable.
Yeah, for sure.
So Dan asked, did you make these textures and patterns yourself? And you've said yes, but if you want to give a little extra info to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I hopped on the live stream yesterday, I made all these sketches and illustrations on my iPad, just kind of anticipating from the talks with the client where some of the gaps in the market would be. And I kind of realized one way to really separate themselves from their competitors was to use all these textures and patterns. So this one right here, just a bunch of fun squiggles, random dots, more textures, straight lines, like kind of a speckled texture and pattern. And I tried to make my own terrazzo. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. So I'll incorporate those with one of these directions. I'm not sure if it'll go with this one or this one, but we'll see.
That's so cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, everybody in chat is gushing over your textures, and they're gorgeous.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, and y'all. The themes of today.
Yeah, so now I'm making a mock-up with this just tertiary logo onto a tote bag.
Ooh. And Derek asks, when presenting, what order do you present everything? Is it type first, et cetera, et cetera?
I usually just, I send them the brand boards that I have. And sometimes I'll hop on the phone with them. Sometimes I'll just like give them a really thorough rundown through email saying like the first concept was based on X, Y, and Z. And they usually get brand boards that kind of look like this, where there's the main logo up here, other elements here, more of a full page image. And then the third will usually be just like a series of mock-ups. So tote bags, stickers, business cards, t-shirts, things like that.
So you send your stuff over email. You don't even present the concept.
No.
What? No way.
I know. Yeah, maybe that's a bad approach, but I like to have the clients sit with it for a little bit so they can just digest what they're seeing.
Okay.
And then sometimes we'll hop on the phone, but again, sometimes I'll just provide a pretty thorough email to them. But yeah,
that is brave. I would be so afraid. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah. What project am I even working on here? Okay, here we go. Trying to
look at how organized you are. This is so beautiful. If you guys are watching right now, look at how she keeps her files organized and numbers everything.
Yep.
Look
so I have my freelance clients, my studio stuff, tools, so like mock-ups, education. So like stuff for Adobe Live today is in there. But yeah, I like to keep it organized because I don't want to end up losing things later on, because it always happens and it definitely will happen to everybody.
Wow. This is incredible. Also, I haven't been paying attention. Look at that. That mock-up has everything completely layered and named.
Well, that's because this was a mock-up that I did download, but I am pretty notoriously good at naming and labeling my Photoshop files because
Oh my gosh.
they get
I'm
so
not
crazy.
surprised anymore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like hit you up on the side and be like, hey, so like I need help organizing my life now.
Yeah. What's that woman, Marie, that woman that wrote that book about reorganizing your life? That's like get rid of items that don't spark joy.
Oh,
It starts with a K.
was it Condis? No.
Kanto, something like that. But she has that one phrase that's, I love mess.
Yeah. Wow, everybody's like, wow, goals. Yeah. Val said that these are so great, Sydney. I feel like if the client doesn't use them, you should think about selling them as a Gumroad package of assets.
Ooh.
If you don't already, which I completely agree. Like these are, if this doesn't get approved by the client, you should absolutely sell a pack. Yeah, Anna and even say Mary Kondo.
Mary Kondo, yeah, that's what it is. But yeah, this, man, I just really want that tote bag. And I think I worked at this one place where the owner would always say, if your logo can't pass the t-shirt test, you need to reevaluate it. And that's always stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always funny whenever you try to put it on a t-shirt and then you realize that the logo doesn't work inverted. And then you're just like, oh no.
Yeah. Right.
I need to rethink this whole logo now.
Yeah. That's like another thing. When I was in school, I was always taught that you should never put a gradient in a logo.
Yep.
But like, I don't know, this one group that I've been working with for a little bit, they put gradients on all their logos. I'm like, what are we doing? This doesn't seem like what's appropriate. But everyone works in a different way. Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, so Derek goes, speaking of organizing, when it comes to Illustrator, do you utilize the layers? And if so, or when, how do you take advantage of the layers?
I don't use layers a whole lot in Illustrator just because everything is there and grabbable for you.
Yep.
But I will use layers if I'm like sketching something. So if I've done more of a detailed, intricate sketch, something more detailed than that, then I'll place it down. Oh, I clearly started this from an old enamel pin file. Look.
You see nothing, chat.
No one will know. Yeah, so if I'm using a more complicated sketch or illustration, then I'll have that sketch in the background layer, then create a foreground layer and kind of just go from there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't ever really use the layer feature in Illustrator.
Yeah.
I think I'm just so used to like locking layers and unlocking layers and then just grouping them as kind of a object.
Yeah, for sure.
And then pasting behind and in front is so easy to do.
Yeah, that's pretty much just what I do all the time, is just constantly lock and unlock layers.
Exactly. The best is like whenever you like, I used to work at a internal design job where we used Illustrator for everything, including like websites and everything, and it was great. But the one thing would always be funny is like whenever you transfer, one designer picks up where you left off, seeing how people group things or how they lock things is so fun, because you're like, oh my gosh, this is grouped wrong, or like,
right.
How do I unlock your layers and this one's hidden? Like whenever you unhide all the assets and they just pop up and you're like, oh wow, this is crazy.
Right. Well, because then you like, sometimes some person would have grouped something, but another person decides to mask it instead. And it's like, you just have to dive so deep into how someone else works. And it just always seems so wrong. Like, what are you doing? But
this is backwards. It's not how I do this.
This is not correct. Yeah. But again, everyone has their own way of doing things. So
yeah. And there's no right or wrong answer, which is great.
Exactly. So now I'm just making some stickers that she could use for her brand potentially pop these into any order that she's fulfilling.
The cool thing about how that logo is, you could see it almost like being made and put on a counter somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Like on like a checkout counter or in the windows ledge of the shop or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be super cool.
Ooh, chat's getting heated about gradient logos.
No.
I think.
What is everybody saying? Are
it's mostly just about like, best practices for gradients. It's kind of hard to incorporate them sometimes because you have to like think about how they are going to print. And like, if you're going to do certain things with the gradient logo, is it going to work for stickers, or is it readable? Do you need to do some like weird half toning type of thing to make the gradients work better? So
yeah.
The general consensus is the logo has to work in black or one color. So if the gradient doesn't prevent that, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Also, good pointers for both your menus and your resumes whenever you're designing those. It's got to work in black. You didn't ask, which font did you use for this logo?
So this one is Gopher. I've been dying to use this in a logo just because it's so cool and fun. I really love the new type trend, or the current type trend where the top and bottoms of the letters are thicker than the sides.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more of a technical term for that kind of font. So if someone knows what that's called, please let me know, because I would love to know that. But yeah, so that one is Gopher. Down here we have P22 Mackinac Pro. I think I said that right. And then this one I think is, Montserrat.
Montserrat.
Yeah. A good go-to.
And don't forget, everyone in chat, we are doing design feedback in 27 minutes. So look forward to that. Make sure you're doing the daily creative challenge and that you're posting in Discord so we can review them later.
Cool. Maybe I'll move on to this one then for a little bit.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Rachel asked, how did you create your icons that are featured in your logo? And you just sketched those all out on your iPad, correct?
Yep. I just, some of the bigger ones are up here. And then these down here, I just, did some little sketches with the pencil tool or something. And then went over them with the pen tool in Illustrator.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I like how minimal that is too.
Me too. I think I can't really see that. This one would be ideal if it could lightly represent the two P's in the logo, but then like just super scaled back representation. But then it also looks like stacked cups or bowls or whatever would be created by the pottery kits.
Yeah.
So, this one needs another color because you can't really see that.
It's a toughie. But that could be almost just a monochromatic version. Like if you just brought that into the brown as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it loses something. Jamie Jones says, this is so helpful. Thank you. Another quick question. How often would you recommend checking in with your client on the process?
I don't know. I guess I basically send them an email whenever there's a new update involved. So obviously there's a lot of emailing going back and forth at the beginning because you have to give them the proper quote, contracts, and I think it's nice up front to communicate what that timeline and process is going to look like, saying these are what the next steps are. You can expect this in a week. So I think just letting them know when they can expect to see things is really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's at least what I do.
I think that's That's spot on. And it sounds like you're already over communicating with your clients on your emails and making sure that they're aware, and that whenever you hand over all the files for review, you're very much giving them everything that they need to know to digest everything that you just sent to them.
Correct. Yeah.
Voodoo Val asks, who are your favorite designers?
Oh boy. It's so it's so weird now because like now that everything is so like Instagram and digital and whatever, I always forget who they are because I'm just used to seeing them on my Instagram feed. Obviously, someone like Jessica Hish is always going to be one of the all-time favorites. There's Whitney Anderson. She's also based out of Milwaukee, and she's just incredible. I don't know, go to my design folder on my phone on my Instagram to see if I can find some people. Man.
The Hood Sisters, maybe?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They crush it.
Brandon Nickerson out of New York City. He creates some really amazing logos and typefaces. Let's see. Oh, I think her name is Sarah Tate. Yeah, Sarah Tate. She's based out of Nashville, and she's just is so fun and colorful and just has the happiest looking work that I just love to look at.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah. Who are some of you? Oh,
is that?
I just said, who are some of your favorite designers?
I really love the work coming out of the Mexico design scene. Like,
oh yeah,
there's agencies out there that just blow me away. Like Futura and Studio Yee and Anagrama. Those are kind of like my favorites. Their work is so vibrant and beautifully presented and just incredible.
Right. Oh, I also super duper love Land, just because everyone, they're just so great.
Yeah. Designed by Land, or I guess by Land, or what's their, I don't remember their social media, but their work is super rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how, like, you know, with Behance and everything, the design world becomes so much closer to you. Like, you can just quickly find such incredible designers that, you know, historically we would never be able to see until, you know, the internet age. And now you're just like, wow, there's so many just incredibly talented people just down the street from you. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, before you would have to have any kind of, I don't know, recognition or a brand name. You'd have to be at some super big professional agency that was impossible to get into, and you have to work until 2 a.m. all the time. And it's just not the case anymore. You can just go out on your own and do some cool stuff.
Absolutely. You didn't ask, what do you do in your free time to get inspired?
Sadly, a majority of my free time is dedicated to design stuff. So when I'm not like creating brand things, I'll like post up on my Instagram for new products, new stickers, things like that. I'm just about to release like one of those hotel motel keychain things.
Ooh, fun.
And a new enamel pin. So I spent a lot of time recently doing that, which is pretty similar, but it's still creative, just creating for myself instead.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So nothing except for design? That's it?
But I do
and murder podcasts.
And murder podcasts and a lot of horror movies, or just like general scary thriller things. Man, and it's like because of the pandemic, there's just a halt on so many activities. Like, yeah, traveling is great. You can't really do that anymore. Or I love going to small plates restaurants all the time, but can't do that either.
Totally.
Which I completely understand why, and we should all like follow those rules. So I want to keep people safe.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say like walking around New York, like, you know, pre-COVID was just so inspiring because you see like, a pamphlet on a wall, you see a
Oh,
billboard,
yeah.
you see all the cute like restaurants and bars, or you see how a shop is doing like some really interesting like displays to get people to come in, and it's just just eye candy everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I love Milwaukee, it's not the most inspiring city all the time. And a lot of the places that would kind of bring that new inspiration, I already kind of frequent a good amount.
Yeah. You're
But
dialed with the happenings.
yeah, exactly. All the breweries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a while, I think over New Year's, I went to a wedding in Dallas, and I had like no expectations going into it. Like it's a city, it'll be cool and fun, whatever. Dallas blew me away. They had such cool stuff there. I just had no idea that Dallas was such a happening town.
If you go back to Dallas, go to Lower Greenville, and that's where some of like my favorite restaurants when I used to live there were. And the design, I'm kind of biased because I worked at a design firm who did all the like restaurants down there.
Oh, cool.
So they're super dialed. They're really pretty. They're cool.
That's awesome.
They have even a food truck, like beer garden area that has really great Philly cheesesteaks. So pro tip, go there.
Philly cheesesteaks in Dallas. Got it.
Yeah. Gabriella says, hi, new here. Welcome, Gabriella. This is to Sydney. How long have you been a freelancer for? And how long have you been out of design school? Have you been a freelancer since you graduated? 3 big old questions.
Yeah. All really good questions that I honestly really like answering. I graduated from UW Whitewater in Wisconsin in 2014. So it's been like almost 6.5 years. And I started working basically right out of school, I felt so lucky to have an agency job right out of school. I know that doesn't always happen, but yeah, I basically started freelancing here and there in college just because I had friends that were in the business school. So they would have a new startup and they would need a logo for that, or someone was starting their own photography business, so they would need a logo. So I would just do small stuff here and there. And then once I was in or outside of school, I started to pick up more freelance work because I started posting more on my Instagram. And basically it just kind of built and built and built to the point where last year when I was working full-time at a design firm, I had like clients and work booked out 6-7 months in advance because you can really only work on one side project at a time while working full-time. Yeah, and then so I would do a good amount of freelance work, but then once the pandemic hit, I was kind of forced to become a full-time freelancer a little bit sooner than I was expecting. But I definitely think it was just the right kick in the pants to make me go for it, because this is definitely something that I wanted to do for a while. I just needed a whole pandemic to make me do it.
Totally. Well, the world delivered.
Yeah, exactly.
Sarah says, I go to Whitewater.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I posted this, the links for this on my LinkedIn, and one of my old professors, Renee Melton, she commented on it. I was like, oh my gosh, you remember who I am? And she said that she would share it with her students. So maybe that's one of those students tuning in.
Oh, fun.
That'd be super cool. Yeah, Whitewater was a pretty good school. Not always known for the art world, but definitely got the job done. I'm here in the working world.
Yeah. Ooh, that's looking interesting.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at doing like the hand doodle patterns like that because I just lump everything together. And I don't give things enough space sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really cool to see like you absolutely crush it with yours.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I basically, I don't know, this kind of took me a while because I had to like keep going with it. So I kind of made everything too close to the same size. And then after a bunch of trial and error, was able to actually separate it. and make some pieces larger, make some pieces smaller.
It's awesome. Yeah, Sarah says
Is
she is Renee's student.
Oh, nice. Is this a logo already? I feel like that's familiar.
Probably.
Yeah.
But like, who cares? If it's working, it's working.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think whose is it though? But like, I feel like the reflected. It's reminding me of like a Robin Big, like Big Black, from like Rob Dyrdek's show.
Oh.
He had like his own reflected bees. I think that
okay.
might be a thing. Oh, that's a pop culture reference that I haven't heard in a long time. Carol says that terrazzo is great. It was on our floors growing up. Well, I like the peas being split by the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like that too. That'd be a nice like header on the website once you scroll down further.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ugh, and I just love this icky pea green color.
Yeah, it's like a almost hummusy.
Yeah.
Like you said, chickpea almost.
Hummus that's sat in the fridge for a few too many days.
Just like I like it.
Nice gross hummus.
Susan asked, when you're picking color palette in the beginning, do you analyze how each color will appear in the press, PMS, CMYK swatches, and other reference tools? I don't.
No.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And especially a lot of work that could get quickly changed by a client, right? Like, I think for me, at least, whenever I'm building the brand and everything, if a client feels really strongly about a color, I'm going to let them have that win so that I can get the logo and the rest of the stuff approved. Like if they want to be super art directing on a color, that's fine. The rest of the system will still work. And I don't want to spend tons of time testing and looking in a Pantone swatch book or anything for work that, might get changed really quickly and is very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the last step I do on a process.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that I really take into consideration when it comes to like colors translating to Pantones and CMYK RGB is just being careful of those really vibrant blues, because as soon as you use if you want to use a blue like this in your brand, as soon as you switch that to CMYK, it's just going to be the biggest bummer in the world.
You mean you don't like your very washed out, less vibrant blue?
No.
Who would have thought? Any advice for a soon-to-be design school graduate on how to graduate to? Oh my goodness, I can't speak today. Any advice for a soon-to-be design school graduate on how to land a job? There we go. I got it out.
He did it. That's better. I'd say, before you graduate, try as hard as you can to get any kind of a design job, especially right now. I know it's a different world that we're living in, so it's going to be maybe more challenging. But trying, even if it's an in-house position that you're not super thrilled about, you can always take that job and then work on your portfolio on the side or in the meantime and build that up until you find that job that you really love. Yep. That's basically one of the things that I did, is that when I got out of school, I found a job in an agency, but after working there for a bit, I was like, this isn't really what I want to do. So then I just started posting my work on my Instagram, created projects for myself, just illustrating things that are on my desk, or fake logos for fake companies, things like that, collaborating with people. And then gradually I built up enough work and had a diversity of projects that I applied to the one of the main design firms in Milwaukee, and I got that job, which I was so psyched about. So yeah,
I agree. I think right now the job market is kind of crazy. So anything you can do, like you said, to build a portfolio that shows that you can do the work, anything you can do in that realm will really, really help you out. So even if it's you're looking for a side project, we talked about side projects a bunch yesterday, about find those things that can inspire you or build your portfolio or get you the work that you want to do. But if you're having a hard time making up your own projects, you can look online for random prompts, or you can even like, there's a lot of businesses out there right now struggling, and you might be able to help them by volunteering your design work. And I'm not ever saying like do a design competition or do work for free, but I think working for free for companies that are struggling or might be going out of business, if you can like help them with their restaurants, or how to help them with a website to transition in this time, like whatever you can do, that stuff will both help your portfolio and you're giving back to the community. So I don't think that's a bad thing.
Right. Well, then again, not to like promote free work too much at all, but like you can always reach out to other makers on Instagram. Like if someone runs a pretty cool food blog, you can always say, hey, would you mind if I designed some like hand lettered banners for you that we can like, you can post them, and then I get like the experience of working kind of with a client, and you get to flex a little bit. You both get something to post. I think stuff like that, reaching out for collaborations, as long as you're the one reaching out, so it doesn't feel like as much free work.
Yeah. If somebody's reaching out for you to do free work, I would, keep them at arm's length, maybe.
Yeah.
Unless that's really what you want to do. But
yeah,
the idea of working for exposure is I would dissuade people from doing that.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, hand lettering or volunteering. Hey, I think this would be a really great asset to your thing. I would love to do it just because of the experience. And then the great thing about that is you already kind of have an idea of how you want to help them. And if they use it, great. If not, you get to just put it in your portfolio and say, hey, I made something rad.
Right.
And here's how it would look on the website, maybe.
Yeah.
Throw it in context wherever you can to kind of make it seem like it's more real than it, versus just exporting your artboard and be like, cool, it's done.
Right.
Eden asks, have you ever collaborated with another designer for a project?
Sort of. So when I worked at agencies, like the name of the game was collaboration. Everyone would always like, I'll do this direction, you'll do that one.
Yep.
We'll break for a day and a half and then we'll come back together with our ideas. But in terms of freelancing, no. I've never like gotten a freelance client that I then pass off to another designer for help, I guess. Maybe I will one day once my workload gets to be that intense.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it's a kind of a tricky question, because I feel like in general, designers are not just artists. And I think having two artists collaborate on a thing is probably like, that's kind of crazy that they did that, because they've, either cultivated their art style or whatever. But as a designer, you're constantly trying to like, I feel like in most environments, you're providing a service, and that service is your creation, and you're trying to always like noodle on things. Like you said, while being at an agency, you're very much, or just even in-house, like you're working with other designers and you're trying to constantly like work together and plus up each other's work and give feedback and critiques. So that's like, it's very much a collaboration, especially like, if you get sick, your partner has to take it on for you. So
right.
I think that's real time, just real collaborations.
Yeah, for sure.
And Dan says, okay, guys, you're distracting me from doing my work. Stop being so entertaining. No, Dan, you're with us for the next 45 minutes. You can leave after we're gone. No, just kidding. You have to stay for Voodoo Val's design off. So you have to stay until the end of the day. I'm sorry. Yeah. She was very big into the Star Wars memes yesterday. Design innovations. Okay, I'm back. Welcome back. So is it okay to reach out and offer free services for mutual gain and experience as well? Sure. As I think the only time that it's not okay is if you're not comfortable with it. Like whatever your intention is to get out of it, I think that's fine. Just frame it in a way that you're wanting to learn and get the experience. And then you're wanting to like be very upfront. Hey, I'm trying to build out my portfolio. I'd like to do these things for you or with you. Do you see that as being mutually beneficial? And they can say yes or no.
Right. Well, I think too, just one of the biggest aspects of it is if the designer is the one reaching out first, then it's like you already had that idea to begin with, and no one's trying to like get anything out of you for free. If it's of your own initiative, then like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah. And as Voodoo Val said, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If a client really does have enough clout that their exposure alone would boost your career, then they should be able to pay you well.
Yeah.
And that's the key is there. They should be able to pay you, and they should be able to pay you well.
Yeah.
I've had, I'm sure you have as well, just random people being like, I manage this person's Instagram and I want you to do this thing. It's like, no, dude.
No.
Like, you don't understand. Like, I'm a professional, so pay me. Like,
right. Exposure can't pay for my groceries.
Exactly.
No, I've definitely gotten those messages where like, this would be a great opportunity for you. It's like, how do you know?
Yep.
And also that's I don't know. That's not how the world works.
Yeah. And Val's given a dose of love today, and it's brilliant. It's don't let people take advantage of you. Your work, your time, you are valuable, even if you're at the beginning of your career. And I could not have said that better than she said it. Definitely, like, you need to be getting what you need out of these projects and not letting people take advantage of you.
Right.
Even if they're paying you, like, don't let them take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Don't be bullied.
Yeah. I'm trying so hard not to do this too methodically and just like put things as quickly in place as I can so I don't think about it too hard.
Somebody asked, do you think free work will set the expectation that you'll be ready to do it again in the future? And I absolutely do. Yes. And that is not a good precedent to set. So don't do that. I mean, even where I am in my current career, like, people have, in an industry that I was trying to break into, were like, oh, hey, Alex, we like your work. We don't have that much budget right now, but we do have, 1% of your normal project fee. And I was like, oh man, like, I still have those internal struggles where I go, oh, but this could get me my foot in the door, but like, I don't want my foot in the door at that price point, because then they don't value me as a creative. They don't understand what I can bring to the table. And then if they do refer me to other people, the price point would be so low already that it's going to be very hard to upsell it another 1,000% to be like, hey, this is actually what I'm worth. I just did that, to get my foot in the door. Like, nobody's gonna be like, oh, that makes sense. Like, you're like kind of bait and switch. So don't do that. Yeah. Carol says, don't fall for the dangling carrot. Then you'll get more work from this.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah, we hear that all the right. Val says, well, you hear that all the time, right? Many people think that if they're beginners, if they aren't confident in their work, they somehow don't deserve to be paid properly. I agree.
Yeah.
I think there's a fine line to walk as a beginner of being confident, but not being cocky. I've had, because I'm always looking for talent for my design firm, and I've had junior designers reach out and like ask for more money per hour than I charge a client. And I'm just like, oh no, like how I've been doing this for like 13, 14 years now or something like that. It's like,
who told you that?
School?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
So just be cautious. Design Innovations says, make me a flyer for an event, add your logo as a sponsor, but don't charge me. I mean, okay. So like on the other end of that, like when I was younger, like I was a professional longboarder, like downhill skateboarder. And there was like a time that I didn't have that much money, but I wanted to go race in Canada. And so I traded a website design and logo design to sleep on a guy's couch for like the whole summer and go to his events for free. So I was like, that's a pretty good trade-off for me. Like, as long as you're not feeling like you're getting, overworked or anything, or, as long as you're happy with the arrangement, that's fine.
Yeah. I feel like later it'd be beneficial to incorporate this shape in the terrazzo pattern so that there's a little bit of continuity going on, but
just a small, subtle, like little nod.
Yeah. Absolutely. And maybe add like a P in there every once in a while.
Yeah. You could throw in like a super abstract P.
Yeah. Like any of these.
Yeah. Even more abstract, maybe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Looks cool.
Thanks.
Just a reminder, everybody, we have 10 minutes left before the daily creative challenge. So make sure you are up to date with the Illustrator Creative Challenge for today and posting it in Discord. And we'll take a look. So we'll see them all in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, this would be really fun if I incorporated that shape and that very abstract P to put that on a tote bag.
Yeah.
So it's like almost more of a statement piece rather than branded, but it actually is branded.
I love subtle things like that.
I know.
I love subtleties and puns.
Yep.
If I can incorporate both of those into one project,
yeah,
even better.
Which is funny because isn't the point of a pun that it's not super subtle?
Yeah.
Or maybe people think it is, but it's not.
Exactly. You're like, oh, well, that's crazy. Vudaval says, I can tell you right now, I'm a full-time artist and I've been here for years. There's never a moment in my career where I was like, oh yeah, I've made it. I'm now at a pro level. I agree with that sentiment completely.
Yes.
She says, I still have the fears and worries just like beginners do. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Imposter syndrome and the likes is very real.
That's one of the biggest things that I struggle with is imposter syndrome. I'm like, yeah, I always feel like it's, I don't know. All those sentiments that go along with imposter syndrome, I feel those every single day.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why you just have to remind yourself that you belong where you are. People want you there for a reason.
Yep.
You deserve this.
And Carol says, I traded what was an easy project for me with a longtime client who helped me with makeup and hair. That's great. Like, I love things like that, especially like when there's a mutual like creative experience. Like I feel like creatives understand other creatives most of the time. And it's like, you know, whether it's a tattoo artist or whatever, like even my tattoo artist, like I help her with her stuff sometimes where it's like, I just want to help her because I love her work and I want her exposure. I want her to like, you know, I have expertise that she doesn't necessarily have, and she has expertise that I come to her for. So like, if there's a trade that I can do, that's even better. Like we're both happy. It's not causing us physical money, but we're, you know, trading expertise a little bit. It's great. Do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would never approach her and be like, let's do a trade. Like,
right.
I'm going to give you, a website and you give me a tattoo.
Yeah.
I would let her kind of ask me for that first.
Yeah. Especially like when you think that you're helping someone with your skills too, and they're like, but that's actually not what I need in my life. I need like actual money and finances right now, or I need help in this other way.
Absolutely.
So if someone needs something, like they should be the one to determine how that help comes.
Totally. Yeah. When I offer like help to other creatives, it's more of just like I don't expect anything in return type thing. And it's just like, hey, I really love your work. I think, I have expertise in things and I would love to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Elevation says, Sydney, how long have you been designing in Illustrator?
Ooh, I think I first started using Illustrator when I was like 13 or 14. And I'm 28 now. So that's like almost like half my life. Jesus. Yeah, so a long time. But I mean, at the beginning I was making like dorky illustrations of a girl in a cool outfit or like song lyrics or Christmas wish list, things like that.
Totally. And Elevation says, oh, I think this might be pre-recorded. Nope, definitely not. Hello.
Hello. Not pre-recorded.
Welcome to Adobe Live, where we do things live.
Yeah.
I know we're so dialed with our commentary that I feel like it might look very pre-recorded, but this is not scripted.
Yes, we're just super articulate and professional.
Absolutely. Leon says, last show your tats or we don't believe you. Okay, it's fine. I'll just text you later. It's fine, Leon. It's okay. I need to get face tats, Leon. I think I'll. Yeah.
I have one right here.
Ooh, a matchstick.
Yes, to remind myself.
Where did the matchstick come from?
Just to remind myself to never burn myself out because that's a issue I have a lot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And then I have like 4 or 5 other things on my arm up here.
Okay, I see that. Wrapping
Yeah.
it all up for professional day. Okay, I
Yeah.
like it.
I just like the shirt.
It's a great shirt.
Yeah, thank you.
Everybody's like looking at the tiny little screens and like, I don't see
Oh, yeah.
it.
There it is.
There you go. Perfect. That's a great.
Oh, yeah.
Leon says, let's design face tats for each other. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Easy.
I actually bought a stick and poke tattoo kit recently, hoping that I could learn how to do it myself. I haven't opened it up yet, but I'd like to get there one day.
That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna start like on grapefruits?
Yeah, probably grapefruits, oranges, whatever the starting point is. So I'm not messing up someone's arm or foot or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the longest tattoo session you've had?
I got 2 at once, and I think it was like 3 hours long. But yeah, and I got married last September, and I first of all I wanted tattoos as a person, because I am passionate about things and I wanted those tattoos to begin with. But I realized like, oh man, there's only like a month before my wedding, and I want these tattoos that I've always wanted to be present in the photos. So then I got 2 at once, 2 weeks before my wedding.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And it worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Carol says, do a candle with 2 wicks. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
I love the like matchstick motif, especially like I love Fahrenheit 451. So I'm like,
oh yeah,
ooh, there's a lot of, match stuff. Yeah, Shauna made it just in time for Tattoo Talk. I think this needs to be a full-time Adobe stream. We'll have to petition for just Tattoo Talk.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
So there's a lot of creatives with tattoos.
Yes.
No spell check for tattoos. Exactly.
Oh my God. Yeah, my the tattoo artist that I like to go to, he's been closed ever since the pandemic hit, and I'm just dying for him to open back up again.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Timo, we covered how to pick colors like a bunch in today's stream at the beginning. So after we're done here, definitely go check it back out on the YouTube rewind, and you'll have availability to check that out.
Yeah,
I love that. Like Leon, I just saw that on the corner of my eye. Voodoo Val, do you want a face tattoo too? Tattoo too?
Tattoo
oh my
too.
Goodness. Everybody's gonna get matching face tats now.
Yes. Let's all commit to it right now.
So we have 2.5 minutes, less than 2.5 minutes now before we go into Discord for the daily creative challenge. So make sure you're getting your Discord uploads going, because we want to check out what you're working on. Juan says, I'm on my 2nd year graphic design and I don't know which designing brand to choose or where to put total effort. I think, you start off probably when you're earlier on in your career trying to figure out like what a logo, like how to make good logos. And I think that's kind of the starting point. And then as you progress, you start to figure out like strategy and what these things convey and how to convey what the goal of the client is. Mm-hmm. And then that's probably where you'll probably start as, in your design career at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Shauna says, yes, Tattoo Talk with Adobe. My artist opens up her box this Friday and I'm debating. The worst part about COVID is not the worst part. There's a lot of bad parts.
There's a lot of terrible parts. But
I take that back. It's just like, like there's a lot of people that want tattoos right now to kind of like help cope with the stress.
Yeah.
And you can't do that in a lot of places. So, and my artist is overseas, so it makes it even harder.
Yeah. Yeah, people are just going to go tattoo crazy once it's moderately safe.
Exactly. Got 47 seconds before our Discord Daily Creative Challenge. Get your entries in.
Yeah. Any last burning questions?
All I see is Voodoo Val talking about how she might get a Sith code tattoo, but not on her face. So I think Voodoo Val, I think you should. Why not?
Yeah.
But I think, like Leon said, put it on your face. It's fine.
Yeah.
See how much you really love Star Wars.
Yeah. If you don't have a face tattoo, do you really even love Star Wars?
Exactly. You need to get like the Imperial logo on your cheek.
Yeah.
Rachel asked, where do I get to see the recording of the session? You'll find it on the Adobe Live YouTube channel whenever this is done uploading and things.
Cool.
So we've got 0 minutes left. We are going to jump into our Discord. Let me pull that up. We are doing menus today, which is very, very exciting. If you guys have missed it, the daily creative challenges so far this week. Why is it not sharing? There we go. The daily creative challenges this week have been based around diner themes. So they started with a logo, and yesterday was coasters, and now we're getting into the menus. So this is really exciting.
Okay, stop sharing then.
Perfect. So let's get into it. Right now, menus. I'm glad I ate today before the stream because yesterday I did not, and I was getting really hungry with all the beautiful work everybody was making and all the coasters and all the coffee memes. So first up, who made this? Let's see here. Ken. Perfect. So we got like this Belgian waffle on the side. I think that's Belgian, right? By putting strawberries on it. Yeah. Croissants. Love the hierarchy. I like the simplicity of the like wave pattern elements. I think this is really readable. I think you also did a really good job of not throwing way too many items on the menu. I think for menus, sometimes we can throw too many items. I think a lot of times some restaurants go too overboard with how many items that they're trying to offer. And for the simplicity for this design, everything's spaced out, readable, looks good.
Yeah, I mean, after seeing what I was creating, I love those abstract, fun, flowy shapes. So I think that that's just a really nice background texture for this. It's not too overpowering, but it's nice and adds a little bit more impact. I do really like that header and the subheader font. That's really nice too. There's good hierarchy within the information. I do think that the copy could just be a little bit larger, but beyond that, I think it's great.
Yeah. Ken goes, hey, that's me. Hey, Ken.
Good job, Ken.
Yeah, I think this is great. I think, like you said, copy could be a little bit bigger. I think the other thing that's missing for me is that the price is missing. And typically you only take off the price for like super duper duper, like rich, very expensive, like restaurants that, you know, price doesn't matter kind of people, but like
there could be gold on that bagel. You don't know.
That's true. There could be, but like the kind of like aesthetic for this feels more like the diner kind of approach. So we want to make sure that like maybe we keep the prices in there because that demographic won't typically pay tons of money. The other thing is that the waffles that you have in the photography, but the waffles you have listed are berries, chocolate, vanilla. So I would say maybe tie the waffle photography, since I don't see the chocolate on the waffle photo, maybe there's like, maybe just take off the chocolate from the description just to nitpick. But you know, if you're building these things, like think about how you're like if you're trying to represent the actual food, show it 1-to-1.
Yeah, that's a great call.
But I think this is great. I think it's super clean and minimal. We got the logo from yesterday or Monday or Tuesday. Days of the week. Who knows?
I thought it was Friday all morning.
I've been backwards all week. So look at this. Okay, remember this really great logo and the stars from yesterday? Super fun. Traditional breakfast. You got the prices in there, egg rolls, bacon rolls. Oh no, I'm getting hungry again. Allergens. I think the one thing I would say is that the allergen section is a little tough to read. I think the all caps and then the thinness of the type with it on the green background just makes it a little difficult to dissect. But
I think the information separation is really nice too, because you have you can very clearly see the two different categories of rolls and hot breakfast. There's a nice line dividing those two, because I know with menu design, there's a lot of information that you have to pack into a pretty small space. So having those dividers can be super helpful.
Oh, and Ken talking about the last waffle thing. he said that those were different types of waffles that you could choose from.
Oh.
But I didn't get that because all the rest of them seemed like it was descriptions. So I think just think about that maybe for future iterations. This is cool. I'm wondering where the green comes from though, because I don't remember there being green in the coaster from yesterday, but it just seems like a color palette that was just randomly thrown in there versus being intentional. So like maybe even just like stripping back the green and doing a black bar or like a black box at the bottom instead, or something else that fits the color scheme. Maybe it's red.
Yeah. I agree with that too. The green seems a little bit too vibrant considering how calm and muted the other colors are and how warm they are.
Yeah, and that retro theme and everything. Perfect.
But yeah.
Oh, second side.
Oh my gosh, there's a second page.
So second side, again, great job laying out the type. I think, again, this lorem ipsum here is not necessary. Like, I think whenever you're controlling your own design for these things, like either write the lorem ipsum yourself to be like a little bit more like dialed, because you wrote copy for the rest of this.
Right.
So for me, the lorem ipsum, like maybe that needs to be like, call us now, we can serve you, or something like that. Like just make it feel a little bit more cohesive. Again, the green, but other than that, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, this looks like an ear. I love almost like a topographical map.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't used this with the step and what's it called? The extrude and like step tool, you can make some really cool topographical maps with it in Illustrator. I like the way that you've kind of right aligned the type. I don't typically like right aligned type, but it seems to work really well for this menu. I think you've captured the tapas vibe really well. I think like magentas and yellows are typically used in tapas places.
Yeah, for sure.
I think what I would like to see is a little bit of like spacing between like each element, because I'm kind of confused on the pancakes, whether it's like jackfruit and steamed pancakes with it, and where does the cucumber or spring onion palm sauce come into it in the next item. So I think right now I'm trying to figure out which items are on the menu, and it's hard to figure out.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great call to just give it a little bit of space between each individual item. Yeah.
Well, the colors are great. Vegan. Let's see here.
Oh, so this one has.
Oh, I see.
This has those. It has a bit more of that hierarchy.
Yeah, I think you could probably bump up the hierarchy a little bit more too. Like make it really stand out that this is a menu item, and then the descriptions below it. Also, just be cautious. Like I liked the right aligned a little bit more on the other page, but now that you have like a paragraph of body copy underneath it, it's very hard to read right aligned text for English speakers. So just think about that. Like you still want this to be readable and dissectable for people. Oh my gosh, everybody's like tapa's graphical map. Oh gosh, I love a good pun. Well done, chat. Mud flap. Thank you, Leon, for contributing today. I appreciate it. Did you just pull this from your Behance page today? This is not a diner. I can roast him because he's my friend. But thank you, Leon. Leon did this really cool Academy Brewworks logo, I think a while back. I love the black lettering on it.
Yeah.
I love the flags. I think it might be cheating because he works at Disney. So I don't know. I don't know if you're just reusing assets now or not, Leon.
I need Disney to look at this.
Yeah, I have to legal approve it.
Yeah.
But hierarchy is great. Type throughout is awesome. It's a cool menu. Good stuff. And now you make me thirsty as well. Leon says it's a beer diner. Got it.
Oh. It's not breakfast without a beer.
Exactly. And now I'm disappointed that Shauna hasn't contributed. So next time, Shauna, you need to contribute to the stuff. Yeah, Sarah said keep flags. They're the best flags. Beer. Cool. Well, we'll go back to designing now, but that was super fun. Thank you everybody for contributing. I know doing menus can be really like painstaking and time consuming. Leon's like, no lorem ipsum here. It's true. Probably crisp. I love it. Good job, everybody. And you can always double check on the Adobe Illustrator Daily Creative Challenges for future stuff. So we are now going back to the design world. We've got like 15 minutes left. And so let's get these concepts kind of pushed a little bit further than that time we got.
Yeah. So right now I'm just trying to wrap up a business card option here. I wasn't really loving how the logo looked on this business card here. But I do think that just the hand and the clay together looks pretty sweet, but you kind of need to have that logo in there somewhere. So I popped it in this shape in the top right. Could be kind of fun. Well, that's some pretty small type there, so that might not be the best choice.
But that's so cool. Like I could see this being all used on like a home pottery kit that they could be selling, where it's like, hey guys, I know you're stuck at home right now. Here's some mud and some clay and some shaping tools. You guys can do this at home. And then like that being the kind of corner of the box as the like fold comes over.
Flap that comes down. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Be a pretty cool banner too. Like if you ever had a physical space, a big banner that's hanging in the back of the space.
Absolutely. Oh, and I forgot, if you guys are looking for really good menu designs, the Under Consideration website, if you haven't been reading it for like hot takes on brand design and things like that, they used to have a blog called The Art of the Menu, I think, something like that. And they just critique like restaurant, hospitality, menus and designs and stuff. So if you're ever looking for more menu inspiration, definitely check that out. Also, if you need to just be on Behance, check out search for menu designs. You'll find some good inspiration there. It's a cool little business card.
Yeah.
Jane Doe. Oh, Shauna's like, I could see this in Crate and Barrel. Interesting. Oh. Yeah, I could. It's really simple and clean.
That's a long URL.
Yeah, maybe they'll have to shorten that abbreviation.
Yeah.
If only .pottery was a website now.
Oh, yeah. Or pottery with a dot purpose.
Yeah. .pot.
.pot.
I also love how with each of these, you kind of have shown different elements of being like, you didn't just do a tote bag mock-up for each. Mm-hmm. You chose a tote bag for one, some stickers for it, and then now we're doing business cards to kind of show different breadths and different feels. That way you're not getting like mock-up fatigue either.
Right, really yeah. Yeah, like actually this would be a pretty cool like corner of a t-shirt. Where's the design? Here it is.
Sarah goes, you make it seem so effortless. Wow. You do.
Oh, thank you.
That's like one thing I was constantly thinking about when I was watching you like mess with some of those layer masks and stuff. I was like, wow, you can tell you've been doing this for a long time because just the way you click through it real quick.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those go-tos that I always like using because I do use so much like typography and textures that I create on my iPad. And again, I don't want to vectorize it too soon and waste like 10 hours doing that. So I'm just going to use those layer masks.
Yep.
And I honestly didn't even know about changing colors with layer masks like that until like maybe 2 years ago when one of my old coworkers told me about it.
Yeah.
And I got ahead of pretend like, yeah, I've always known about that.
Shirt. That shirt looks so good.
Thanks.
Yeah, that color is so fetch.
Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's cool. I could see that being used like everywhere. And
Yeah.
oh man, even like to take some like lifestyle photography of it in the woods or forest,
Oh, yeah.
camping trips. I
I,
could see like a coffee mug being really good with this stuff as well.
mhm. I always like to change the background color too, just because it looks, just adds a little bit extra branding.
Yep.
Okay.
What about the terrazza in the background?
Ooh, that would be pretty fun. Let's see how she looks.
Ooh.
Now, normally I would fully create this pattern so it doesn't repeat like this, but we don't have all the time in the world right now.
No, this is where the speed comes in.
Yeah,
like, oh
exactly.
gosh, 10 minutes.
Right. Let's go quick.
Adobe used to do, and I don't know if they do it anymore, but they used to do like these design competitions in spaces, like at events and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so nerve-wracking, like 3 hours competing against other creatives and other teams, and you're just like, oh gosh, it's so hard.
God. That sounds so scary.
Yeah, but it's so much fun because I love those, like, what can I do in 3 hours? It's like, oh,
Right.
good luck. What do they call those? It wasn't Creative Challenge. It was I'll have to think about it.
What? Yeah, I remember seeing those sort of speed competitions or when I was in college, or even those competitions for students where they are basically broadcast on a huge live screen and they're designing something on a stage.
Yeah.
And I give so much credit to anyone that's going to do that because that just sounds so scary.
I mean, you're doing that now.
I am kind of doing that now.
It.
Oh, thank you.
Like Robert just said, very nice workflow. So cute. Voodoo Val says, I love this. Like, yeah.
Oh,
I think you nailed this out of the park.
But I also don't feel like I'm competing against anybody, which
true.
My super competitive mentality would kick in and just take over, and it'd be a whole other situation.
Totally. It was called Adobe Creative Jams, and they did it at the Creative South like design conference one year, and it was super fun. They also used to do a thing called Type Fight, which is you have an hour, I think, and you get randomly paired up against another designer. And they used to have it in an old boxing ring, and you get each assigned the same letter, and then in that hour you have to create something, and then all the other designers vote on who did the best letter. It's gnarly.
Would explode.
Yeah. And seeing what some of these people did, it was just so inspiring and so incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always wanted to get a bit more into the type world where I create my own fonts and do like some really intricate font design and creation, but that's a project for another time.
Totally. Elizabeth says that Adobe Creative Jams are still happening. There's one happening this weekend. That's awesome. I'm so glad.
Cool.
It's I think it's a great way to like refine your practice and skills and just try it. It's stressful, but
yeah,
it's fine. I remember when I was like, I used to go to like a bunch of hackathons as well. And like you would have, 24 hours to work with your team to build a website or a product or an application and design it all. It was such a good way to like just practice working under stress.
Yeah, for sure.
Drink a lot of Red Bull.
I am someone that can't really handle any amount of caffeine ever at all. So that sounds like drinking a bunch of Red Bull and going on stage in front of a bunch of people. Oh,
Shauna says, I remember Type Fight. I won my matches. What? That's awesome, Shauna.
Whoa.
We got a design celebrity here. If you guys haven't seen Shauna, she started off this last 2 mornings as well doing, I don't remember. I'm sorry, Shauna. But she was on Adobe Live and she crushed it, but I don't remember what the subject was. It was cool though. I'll rewatch it. Shauna does a lot of like really great hand lettering work.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, Elevation says, I'm stealing that idea. Graphic designers plus boxing ring. Yeah, it was a cool stage to set up everything.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah, people are saying his business cards are amazing.
Thanks, guys.
Got 5 minutes. What else are we going to build out?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm not feeling this first direction as much. It feels a little bit too playful. So I might revisit that later on. Let's see, what other assets do I have cooking up here? I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep messing around with some of these.
Do you have a favorite direction so far? Or are you still trying to figure out this one?
I think this middle one is definitely my favorite since that's the one that I was so easily, or was much easier to expand to a full set. Whereas this one I'm feeling pretty good about, but this one I think I just need to spend more time working with this icon, because while I really like that it's simple, it feels almost too simple to me right now. It might be kind of cool. I incorporated a letter in there though. Now it looks like a smiley face.
I love smiley faces. That's great.
Same.
Just like make the middle bowl kind of like more of a nose.
Yeah.
Ken says, I really like the first one.
Cool, thank you. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that with the type kind of bouncing around, that it feels more like a toy brand or something.
Yeah, that was one thing that I noticed that the client was kind of drawn to in the mood board. She liked some of the like lowercase or upper and lowercase text, and sometimes when it bounced around a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think this one could use a bit more of a sophisticated palette to balance it out, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to give us a quick little 3-minute recap of all the kind of your process, the project, how we got to where we are, and kind of what your next steps would be?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is for a company called Pottery with a Purpose. As you can see, she sells DIY pottery kits, and she's just starting out. So, but she's had this idea for a while, but it just seems like a really cool idea and concept and initiative. So she approached me and she wanted to make sure that this had, it was fun and playful and light without being too young or too focused on young people. Because I think the ideal target market is between like 25 and 40. So someone that has their own apartment, has their own house, just needs some time to unwind. But so we went through a pretty good creative brief process. So I kind of had a good established direction, or like mental direction of what she was looking for. And then we did some mood boarding. And through that, we basically went through it board by board and called out things that she liked, things that she didn't like, which can be just as important. And then from there, I started doing a bit of the sketching on my iPad, realizing that I really like these fun abstract shapes, and thought that it would be pretty sweet to add some patterns in there. So I just made some of these textures on my own, made some squiggly lines, polka dots, made this terrazzo pattern, just a whole bunch of different stuff, because as I've said several times throughout this live stream, I like to have all these puzzle pieces out in front of me so that when I start working on the brand, I can kind of just assemble it without as much resistance.
Yeah.
So you don't get too hung up in like one specific layout. You can just kind of assemble everything as you go. But yeah, so then I pulled a bunch of type together, pulled a bunch of different type layouts together, figured out which fonts felt appropriate for her brand, pulled some more color palettes together, and I was definitely wanted to incorporate like a terracotta or more neutral colors because it's clay after all, and that feels pretty earthy. And then, yeah, so I nailed down with this font right here, created this little still life layout that all kind of has ties to ceramics or pottery within there. And that also just shows the diversity of the products that she's willing to create these kits for. And it's one of the taglines is clay your way. So if you want to make some clay your way in a vase or whatever, it's available. Okay,
Perfect.
but yeah, a few other directions, and here we are.
So it sounds like next steps would probably be adding in a couple more mood boards, figuring out that first direction a little bit more, and then you're going to send a very thorough email to the client with all the goodies.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. Make sure to check her out on supercreative.co. All of her social media, Voodooval's already posted it a bunch of times in chat. And that will be it for us. But thank you so much for hanging out. Stick around for the rest of the streams for today. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for hanging out.